Ooh. All right. Good evening, everybody. It's Ben with Will Cash Homestead. I wasn't exactly sure what to name this stream, so I just called it, hey, come check out my new shirt. So this is my new shirt. And Mrs. DeLocash Homestead surprised me by bringing this home the other day. So let's talk about some of the things that we're doing here. Bear with me for a second. Let me try and get a little bit more comfy and get everything set up here in the camera. Okay. So let's talk about some of the things that we're doing. And if you have a question or a comment, throw it in the chat window. I keep wanting to say below because I'm so used to doing this on a phone, but we're not doing it on a phone tonight. We're doing it on our Chromebook. So for those of you who have been keeping up with the channel, then you know that the big thing that we've been working on has been our high tunnel. And that is taking, it's not just a lot of work, but it's also one of those things where I'm not in any of the phases where I do as much of it as I can, by myself, but you're basically constructing a building. And so I usually have 1, maybe 2 days a week that I can have somebody over here and help me build that. So one of the things that we did today was we put in some, and this isn't going to be a very, very long stream tonight, but one of the things that we put in that we did today was we put in and revitalized and refreshed a bed that had some Royal Burgundies in them. And the Royal Burgundies were pretty much a good seller. They just, they had ran their course. And I plant high density. And I talk about this in some of my videos that I do a lot of high density planting. And sometimes when you do that, and beans are specifically susceptible to catching diseases between each other when you're planting them high density. So the Royal Burgundies had gone out, so we pulled them all out and threw them in a composter, and I planted that, rebuilt that bed, and I'll have a video of it coming up soon. I've taken footage of it today, but we're going to pull, or I did pull that bed out and put in a carrot bed. Now, if you've been watching the channels on building the garden, channels or videos or anything on building the garden, then you'll know that I'm using raised beds, and they are about 18 inches deep. So that should do quite well for carrots. Now, I've done several test batches of carrots in some raised beds that I built basically out of junk that I had laying around, like totes that had a hole in them, or the bottom was cracked, or an old toy box, a cedar chest that a friend of mine gave to me that was all busted up, and the bottom was all busted and the top was all busted, but the 4 sides were in good shape. So we did carrot boxes out of those, and we did our test bed carrots in that to check and see if we had our soil formula right and all that stuff, and it seems to be working pretty good. So that's one of the things that we did today, along with we went through and took a weed eater, kind of cleaned out the high tunnel area, as in there's a video of, and whether you like the guy or not or anything like that, there is a Justin Rhodes video for the Great American Farm Tour where he shows and it's in my home state of Missouri, and I don't remember the farmer's name, but he made a valid point, and that is every edge that you make creates more maintenance. So as far as raised beds go, and we don't have very good soil here at all. It's very heavy clay. You can grow in it if you take the time to amend it and do that. And we did that with a lot, that garden area. We did that a lot starting at year 1. And piling like yard debris on it and turning that in. And I think I have several videos about soil amending, but one of the very, very early ones is an absolutely horrible video where I say turning crap soil into good soil using what you got. And that's yard waste, where we just keep piling yard waste, leaves particularly because I have lots and lots of trees. So we particularly use leaves for that. Now, when you put in raised beds, then of course expect to do more maintenance. And the other thing is we had drug our chickens through that area, and this is prior to the high tunnel arriving. But all of our birds are in tractors, and we drug the chicken tractors through the high tunnel area, and then I'd let them eat the ground. This is basically how I do it. I let them eat the ground. When they stop picking at the ground, I know that there's nothing left, and then I'll throw a little bit of grain to them, or I'll move them. Well, I had some scratch grains that I was throwing out for them, and a lot of those grains grew. So we had to come through and cut that stuff down. It's particularly little young corn plants and stuff like that. So we basically had to come through and cut all of that stuff down. That's one of the things that we did today. Some of the things that we have planned, and I have to be a little bit cautious about this, but we have planned to do a Dutch bucket system, and then we're also looking into some caterpillar tunnels, and I need to have a conversation with some of the NRCS folks and see if caterpillar tunnels are allowed in their grant program. And then also we have some agricultural training it's being sponsored by Lincoln University, and it's going to be it's November 8th. And it's out of town. It's not very far. It's still in Missouri. It's within like a couple hours drive. So we're going to be going to that. And that is all on, marketing and social media marketing. And I'll be honest, I'm very bad at social media marketing, just simply because I just don't really have a whole lot of time. And social media is kind of one of those things that can be a real time suck if you haven't learned how to manage it. And I'm not very it's one of those things where I just don't Instagram or tweet everything all the time. It's just not my thing. We are part of a couple of Facebook groups for homesteading, and Small YouTube Homesteaders is one of them. And then so usually what happens is when I put my stuff up on YouTube, and then when I get it embedded into my website is when it auto publishes out, and WordPress has lots of little plugins that will help you distribute stuff. But it's basically like Facebook, Tumblr, and Twitter, I think. And then it's all kind of auto publishes out to those. So that's some of the things that we did today. We are planning a Dutch bucket system. And in fact, I've been going pretty much like every time I visit Wally World, I go to the deli or bakery and say, get some icing buckets. And I'll usually leave with 1, 2, sometimes 5 or 6 of them. So I had a Dutch bucket system on one of my old homesteads, kind of like a suburban farm, very small, in a really crappy neighborhood that not a crappy neighborhood. And when I say crappy neighborhood, what I mean is just like a neighborhood where the local authorities are just pain in the ass. Pardon my French, but that's, the long and short of it. So, but we had built a Dutch bucket system there vertically over our fish tank, and it produced more food than I could ever eat. And we weren't selling it at markets at that time. We were at that place 2 years, and we had planned to be there 2 years or less. And then we bought our current homestead, which has become the Low Cash Homestead. So that's one of the things that we've done, and some of the things that we're doing. And so we do have other things planned. And then, of course, today, one of my things that we did plan for today but didn't get done was to stretch out the bulk fabrics for the high tunnel and figure out the end panels and cut pieces and things like that. But we didn't get that done. I actually decided to take a couple hours off and hang out with Mrs. Lokesh Homestead today and spend some time with her. So, and then she went to go do some stuff, and of course, back to the title of the stream tonight, because I didn't really know what the title it. So back to the title of the stream was, hey, check out this awesome shirt. And it's a blend. It's a poly blend. So it's cotton rayon and something else. And it's just a real smooth, silky feeling, like a satin sheet or silk sheet, which personally I can't stand because they always want me to, I always end up sliding off the bed. Every time I like toss around or something, I end up sliding off the bed. We also have in queue. They're basically produced and uploaded, and I have to go back through and put all the notes and cards and annotations and stuff on them. A good chunk of videos. I usually try to publish videos on Tuesdays or Wednesdays, but that it just wasn't in the cards today because I have 3 or 4 of them that need to be published. They're uploaded in private mode, and I have to go through and put all the stuff on them. So that's another thing. And then so why don't you guys ask me a question? And I see we got a few of you in the room. So, I'll take questions. Last week we were sitting in the garage and we were seeding microgreens, and I actually have had some back and forth conversation with one of the individuals who was in that group last week. That was on our live chat last week. And it seems like they are getting started in the microgreens. And so I was sitting out in the garage and I was talking to you guys, and I was seeding microgreens trays, and the lighting was just so bad when I played it back. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe anybody stuck around long enough to listen to me when, my face is all dark and you can't really see that well. And I tried to lighten it up a little bit, but my workspace, pardon me. I know it's late for our live stream going on this late, but it's like, when can I get everybody to bed and all that stuff. So with having a large family, I don't always get to have these things, my goal is to start doing more of them and do them at least once a week. And then, Wednesdays so far seem to work. It worked last week. It seems to be a decent time, except that it's late. By the time all of that happens. So there is that. Okay, so why don't you guys ask me a couple questions? I'll see if I can do something for you. Another thing that we're working on is, aside from the eye tunnel, we talked briefly about, I want to find out if caterpillar tunnels will qualify for that. And then if you look, I have a video called Cheapo Greenhouse Project. Well, we took the cover off the Cheapo Greenhouse because it was summertime. We just didn't need it anymore. And then oh my Lord, excuse me. I don't know exactly what happened, but something caused the center purlin of the Cheapo greenhouse to collapse, and once that happened, then all the little connectors on it started breaking. And of course, the company that makes it won't sell me new connectors. I don't know why. I just need the connectors, the pipes, and the cover, and all that stuff are good. I just need new connectors. So we're going to have to try and figure out how to either rebuild or repair all those connectors. And I'm going to try doing some heat welding with them because they're just plastic and like 5/8 steel, like plastic coated steel rod, kind of like, it was like a $70 greenhouse. So it wasn't like a huge investment, but I would like to put it back up since I don't, all the structure and the cover and all that stuff's intact. And I'm thinking, I've been kind of looking into a way to, see if I can rebuild those connectors with like PVC or CPVC fittings or something along those lines. Or maybe we'll just take a heat gun and kind of heat them up and see if we can bend them back or glue them back together, and for the ones that have broken all the way through. Okay, then other updates. Let's see. Let's talk a little bit about some of the stuff we've done at Farmers Market. Now, I took the last couple of weeks off Farmers Market because I could have some help over on Saturdays and get some help. And we've been, working on that high tunnel. And like I said, with that, we have to stretch out the bulk material and try and get the rest of the bulk pieces up that make the ends. And I have a video coming. I think I just uploaded it, so I have to publish it and do some work on it. But it was about the end framing. And the end framing on these high tunnels is 4x4s. Well, for us, we actually bought some extra parts because of the grade of the ground. And so when we put these 4x4s in, well, I had to get really long ones. So, excuse me, I don't feel tired. So I think that's like a Van Halen song, isn't it? I don't feel tired. Anyway, so we had to dig those down, and then of course, rather than bolts, they give you all thread and double nuts and things like that. So the biggest thing on that was that the machinery doors are 10 feet by 20 foot wide, and even the biggest, the lumber yards. I'm not talking about Home Depot or Lowe's or any place like that. I'm talking about lumber yards. Didn't have 20-foot 2x4s, or 4x4s. So we ended up doing a laminate beam or a build-up beam, with double layer with staggered joints to build the headers for those machinery doors. And we got the machinery doors and the guide posts and crank up assemblies and all of that done. And that'll be coming up in a video to be published soon. It's edited and put up. I just have to publish it. And like I said, do all the notes and annotations and descriptions and linking and all that stuff to it. So that's kind of some of our updates. And then let's see kind of what else went on. I still can't exactly. Our septic system is finally done. I have a video of that needs to go up, and so the advanced treatment system is done. They got that done about a week or two ago. Put some grass seed on it. We're starting to get some grass on that, and then one of the things that is kind of upset me about the whole situation was that this new septic system is going to cost me $500 a year to operate. When we bought the low cash homestead, we said, okay, we got our own on-site sewer system. We got our own water system. We can be, pretty much independent other than having electricity. And so they got all of that done, although it's still going to cost me $500 a year to operate it. And that's because it's with the they call it an advanced treatment system. So with that, then you have to have this on-site operations permit. You have to have a service contract. As a homeowner, you cannot service it with the advanced system. Now, what we had previously was a tank and a gravity-fed system where it was like 12-inch pipe that went through, and it had sock pipe and it all percolated out. Now that is an older style system. Those systems will remain functional as long as you don't mess with them. And in our case, we had a bad equipment operator from a very, very bad contractor who was doing some work here, and they stuck a track hoe down through it. That process is almost wound up. I could probably talk a little bit more about that soon. But the new system is in, and so that's another thing that's happened. And one of the things that it takes getting used to is that sound. It has a sound. The other one was completely silent. But this has a lot of machinery and mechanical parts and pumps and stuff like that. And if you kind of, I'm not saying listen for it, but you can kind of hear what sounds like a very mild, very low, like very low, like jet engine, like when a turbine starts winding up, that kind of sound. Then you hear that in the background, like all the time, and that's because it uses a Venturi jet to aerate the system. So that's another thing that's been that's been completed here at the Locash Homestead is our advanced septic system is now completed and has been seeded. And I know from experience in that area that it takes many applications of seed to get any kind of grass there. And then, once you dig that all up and all the topsoil is gone and it's all been, so it's all clay, exposed clay at the surface again. So we have to seed and fertilize that. Now, the contractor was required to seed and fertilize as part of the law, but that's all up and operational. And like I said earlier, we refreshed and built a new carrot bed. I didn't build the new boxes or anything, but we took out a crop that had run its course and put in carrots. Now, the question that happens is, well, Matt, isn't it still kind of hot for carrots? Well, yes and no. I mean, I'm in the Midwest in Missouri, so Missouri falls can be drastically different day to day. 95 degrees one day and 72 the next. So is it possible we're going to be in and out of that germination temperature window? Yeah, of course it is. But I put them in anyway. One, I had the seeds, I had all the materials, and two, with the high tunnel going up, then they'll have some time. They will not make markets. The rest of market season will end before those carrots are ready because it's a 75-day grow on that variety. And so we did that today. Also, we went through and I mentioned this briefly before and cleaned up a lot of the overgrowth that, to be quite frankly, I did not maintain around the boxes and things like that because the last few weeks we've just been trying to get this building built and things like that. So again, like I said, this isn't going to be a long live unless I get some more questions to answer. But those are kind of the updates that are. Oh, another thing is right behind me here, and we actually got this going earlier. I'm going to tip this up and see if you guys can see that. Okay, that thing right behind me, right before we get in our ceiling there, and I'm missing a piece of trim off the window. Yes, I know, and that's because I have many children, and they sometimes break things. I'd have the trim to go back up there, but that unit right there, that is called an AC/DC 12. And I notice this comes up a lot in off-grid videos, well, what about air conditioning or things like that? And a lot of people say, oh, well, you can kind of get used to it. Well, that is called an AC/DC 12. That is a third generation, I believe. And I think they're up to the fifth generation now. This thing is the model that I have is a solar hybrid. Oh, it had been out of commission for about several months, and that was because of a refrigerant leak. And we recently had that repaired and got the refrigerant put in, and I remember why I love this thing so much. It operates on solar panels. Now, they call it inverter technology, which isn't not exactly the correct term. It's kind of more like rectified technology, because this thing runs, as we all know, if we think back to science and history class, DC current is more effective and efficient at operating motors. You cannot transmit DC current. That's why we use AC current. So, a lot of your new high efficiency appliances and things like that, they call them inverter tech. Well, it's actually rectifier tech. So you're switching that AC over to DC current, and then you're able to operate motors and stuff with much, much less wattage. Well, this thing behind me operates at a SEER 30 seasonal energy effective rating, a SEER 30 with the solar panels attached, and it doesn't take much. It takes I have three 250 watts up there, and that's all it takes to run it. And I put an amp clamp on it at one point, and it pulls 0.01 amp off the grid. So its power consumption is ridiculously low as long as the sun's out. So it's a heat pump. It's like a little mini split. So we got that working just a couple weeks ago, and I've kind of been kicking myself for not making a video explaining the AC/DC 12 now, the 5th generation AC/DC 12 is what we're up to now, will run air conditioning during the day just from the solar. So for those of you who are off-gridding it and maybe being a little bit hot during the day, then, the AC/DC 12, you can find it at Hotspot Energy. Might be an option for you. So, we got that thing working again. So I'm going to go ahead and tip the camera back down. And also, I got a haircut. Now I have, hi, Backyard Gardener. So it was Backyard Gardener I was talking to last week when we were talking about microgreens. And he actually left a couple comments on that today. He is getting started. I say he, because I'm old school and I automatically use the masculine pronoun with its unknown, right? So she, okay. So now we're clear. So Backyard Gardener just said she. So she, so now that I have that information, then we'll go with the she. Okay, so she was talking with her last week, kind of in the chat window, and she has left a couple messages or replies, and she is getting into microgreens after hanging out with us last week, and we were seeding and stuff. And I'm not going to claim, I know that she had talked that she wanted to get into it and asked, what would be some good ones to start with. And so Backyard Gardener, you went with spicy salad blend and some romaine. And now, were you trying to do the carrots as microgreens, or were you just trying to put some carrots in, or what? Yes, beets. Yes, but you had said something about carrots in your comment that you forgot to get carrots. Were you trying to do carrot greens as microgreens? Okay, so you want to do just the carrot tops. Okay, now I'm gonna tell you that the carrot top to me is, I don't eat the greens on the carrots. I love carrots. They're super sweet. They're good, but I don't eat the greens on them. Some people probably do. I might start keeping them maybe for Mrs. Locash Homestead was by her physician was put on a strict juicing diet. And it's a health thing. It's not like a weight thing. It's a health thing. She has a couple conditions I'm not going to get into, but so maybe I would use it for that. Me personally, I don't eat them. It's just like I don't grow kale because I don't eat kale. So I'll eat the crap out of a carrot though. They're crunchy and delicious. So, so we were talking last week and I was sitting in the garage and that video was really dark. And so I decided kind of sit in the foyer this week and talk to you guys. And another thing that we did, and this just happened in the last few days, within a week or so, and this may not seem like a huge homesteading update or whatever, but my foyer has 9 windows in it. And it's 40 feet long. So, and it faces west. So we get a massive amount of sun coming through in the afternoons, which really heats this room up, which is also why the AC/DC 12 is in this room, because this actually is an addition to the original house. But it was here when we bought the place. So, but then I got 9 windows across this, across the foyer. And with the sun beating directly in, we had a opaque paper window film on there. And that was good for privacy, but did absolutely nothing about the heat. So I put these in maybe just about a week ago, and these are blackout. So during the day, it lowers the light level, but it also cools the room off quite a bit to the point where the AC/DC 12 has not nearly been working as hard. But we put these films in, and I have, I put some in my daughter's bedroom, which is at the end of the foyer, and then we put these in here. Now I got 2 more windows left to do in the FEA, but that's another kind of thing that we did. And then we've talked before, and I mentioned it, and people keep joining. So if you've heard this already, then I didn't know what to call tonight's live stream. And I didn't want to say, hey, come chat with me, But so I called, check out my new shirt. So this is my new shirt. Mrs. Locash said pick this shirt up this afternoon while she was out doing some stuff. Before it was time for me to go get the littlest one from school. Now we did do some homeschooling, but I have a large family and it became extremely stressful. So they ended up going back to school. And we had them in a private school, and that was not the experience that we had hoped for. I mean, it was cool with the sports teams and all of that, but because the government schools out here, they really don't have any sports teams in rural America. So, they have there's an independent league for different things that you can join for, soccer or whatever like that, but there's really not a whole lot of sports teams. They have mini cheer camps and things like that. So, all of that's cool. But, okay. Other updates. Let's see. I can't tell you any more about the scenario with why the septic was changed until that's 100% handled. I just think because of the legalities involved, it's better long story short, we had a bad contractor who really screwed some stuff up and cost me a lot of time and money and aggravation. And, but our new septic is in and operational, and I'll have a video of that being, as a walk around and show you how it works. And I think I'll probably get that made public within the next week or so. And then there's 3 or 4 other things that we had to get done as far as the videos being put up and put together. Okay, so I did say this wasn't going to be a very long live stream tonight. It's been a long day, and I'm going to try and do these, Wednesdays or possibly Thursdays. Probably, I know it's late to do them, but definitely after 8. It'd be near impossible to do with all the kids up because they are very loud. There's a cartoon called The Loud House, and it's there's 12 kids and they're all girls except for the one kid who's a boy. And that's kind of my house because I have a lot of children and they get very, very loud. Although they are spaced between boys and girls. So, okay, I want to thank everybody for tuning in and hanging out with me. We'll update you more next week, and stay tuned to the channel. We've got some, like I said, some more content coming soon. That's just basically it's done, and I just need to go through and work on the details of it. And then for our backyard gardener, I'm glad that we could. I'm glad that you coming and hanging out with us was kind of like the tipping point, I guess. And maybe I'm wrong for saying it this way, but I'm really glad that after speaking with you and stuff last week that you were able to kind of move forward on another aspect of the things that you like to do as far as gardening and things like that. So my hat's off to you. It's always nice to see somebody move into something that they haven't done before, or maybe are just trying to learn about. And it's a lot of times it's just kind of like you can watch all the videos in the world. You can read all the articles. You can, and for me, one of the greatest resources that I have is an actual book. And it's the American Horticultural Society's Guide to Plant Propagation. I talk more about that on the channel. There's actually a video called You Need This, and it's me talking about the American Horticultural Society's Guide to Plant Propagation. It's not a cheap book. I think it was $35 or somewhere between $20 and $30, but invaluable. So you can kind of look at it and figure out, and it gives detailed instructions for many things. And then for other techniques like grafting, which I haven't done myself, but it's something that I'm interested in trying eventually. But it goes into other aspects of plant propagations like cuttings and graftings and things like that. So it's not just about growing vegetables, but if that's a manual, kind of like a book that I would recommend for anybody who's, gardening or wants to be more proficient at growing plants. Am I a practitioner? Do I have a PhD in horticulture? No, I screw stuff up all the time. It's just a question of, do you learn from it and can you fix it when you do? So that's kind of where we are on that. All right. I want to thank everybody for tuning in, and like I said, we're going to try and do this on Wednesdays and or Thursdays, somewhere around 9:00 Central Time. This is Matt with Low Cash Homestead. Thank you very much. And as always, have a good night.